Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nasalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Let's continue with the devotions of Shah Abdur Rahim Raipuri rahimahullah. Inshallah, I will be adding the card for a brief biography on him as well. But there is a series of Pious Elders that I will be continuing even after the Ramadan. So maybe check that out too. The devotion of Shah Abdur Rahim are narrated in Tazkiratul Khalil as follows. Hazrat had a deep love for spreading knowledge of Quran. He established 20 to 23 centers, makadib, for the beginners, usually small children, to learn to recite and memorize the Quran in the Doon region. Doon region is our villages in the outskirts of the city of Dehradun. He himself was in love with the recitation of Quran, and being a Hafiz, would spend almost the whole night reciting. In 24 hours, night and day, he rarely slept more than an hour, and became irritated when people came to meet him, as it took time away from the recitation of the Quran. The only time people were allowed to meet him was between Asr and Maghrib. Also, he gave 1 hour in the morning to guests from between 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Other than that, without the need of or sudden emergency, he did not meet anyone. He closed the doors to his room and relished the fruits of reclusion and entreating and conversing with his Creator. He ate little in Ramadan, though his devotions and spiritual exertions increased drastically, so much so that people pitied his condition. The gathering between Asr and Maghrib was cancelled for the month of Ramadan. In Iftar and Seher, he barely drank 2 cups of tea and half or 1 chapati, roti. In the beginning of Ramadan, he led Tarawih himself and finished between 2 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. except when he became too weak in the last days of Ramadan, when he listened to the Quran instead. Aside from his own recitation, he listens to 3 or 4 Qur'ans, or he listened to 3 or 4 Qur'ans in Tarawih. He forbade guests from meeting him, as all this time was spent reciting the Quran. The number of guests that came to meet Shah Abdur Rahim Raipuri was greatest in the month of Ramadan, but no one was allowed to meet Hazrat. People were only allowed to see him from afar while he was going to the masjid. All correspondence was also closed during Ramadan. He never read or listened to even a single letter. His diet was the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in whichever way it was performed. The strength he gained from the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was such that could not be gained from the dawa musk or the Jawahir Mohra, the 2 herbal medicines taken to gain strength. As has been mentioned previously, the number of guests were greatest in the month of Ramadan, but all these guests were true seekers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who themselves had no time to meet with anyone. His admirers could only see him from afar when he came and went to the masjid. Hazrat especially disliked the arrival of people whom he was forced to meet with. In our BT part 4, I have written under the chapter of expressing our gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in the last Ramadan of 1334 July 1916 of my father's life, I expressed my desire to Shah Abdur Rahim Raipuri of wishing to spend Ramadan with him. In response, he affectionately wrote back that the month of Ramadan is not for meeting or travel. Stay where you are and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then I asked him to at least allow me to come for the last 10 days. I finally found his reply to this letter in my papers, which I reproduced in RBT part 4. That the same reason for not coming in the beginning of the Ramadan applies to the end. But you and your father are lofty people. What can a person like myself say to you? I am only replying to this letter in this blessed month because it is your letter. As far as zikr is concerned, continue whatever zikr and ashghal Sheikh has prescribed for you. This letter is narrated in full in RBT, but I remember my father saying to me, "Don't go. Hazrat's focus will be diverted because of you, and he will also be concerned for your food and drink." I have narrated the whole incident in the RBT. Inshallah, next time we will continue with the devotions of Sheikh al-Hind Mahmud al-Hasan Deobandi rahimahullah. May Allah give us tawfiq. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallah wa bihamdi, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayh. Jazakallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan for watching or listening to this discourse. Show your appreciation by liking this video to help us bring similar content for you. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Clicking the bell icon will notify you of the new discourses which will be uploaded on a regular basis. Most of all, please give us your feedback and du'as in the comments. Please note that we do not use ad revenue or AdSense on YouTube, so check out the campaign link in the description. Jazakallahu khairan.